I am a Powerpuff Girls fan. I loved it ever since I was little and I love the girls themselves. I even have the plush toys of all three of them. However, one episode stays in my mind and it can't leave me alone. It was August 28, 2021, 5 days before my birthday. I was minding my own business watching Powerpuff Girls videos on YouTube. At that moment, my older sister came into the room. "Can I help you?" I asked. "I found this DVD and I thought you would like it, so here," she replied. Took a clear look at the DVD and it was a Powerpuff Girls DVD. It was titled as Paranoia, which is a title for one of the episodes. I was interested in watching it, so I slammed it in my portable DVD player and the DVD menu came up. I pressed play all and I watched the following episodes. Him diddle riddle. Film flam. All chalked up. Stray bullet. Nano of the north. Get back Jojo. Knock it 0 FF. Keen on keen. Not so awesome blossom. Paranoia, and a weird title. Frightday the Hurting. I didn't really understand the title, though it sounded familiar later on. The intro played normally, but the theme music played in reverse. When it showed the title card, the text was in red. Instead of the drum solo, there was ominous piano music playing, which made me feel queasy. The episode finally started.
The city of Townsville!
The narrator said cheerfully.
The home where the Powerpuff Girls inhabit!
Just then, it showed the Pokeok's kindergarten building. All of the children went out of the door, as the girls were walking rather than flying.
"Can't you believe it has been a busy day for us girls?"
Blossom asked.
"Yeah, we rarely got a lot of playtimes because we had tests to do."
Bubbles replied. Buttercup joined in the conversation.
"Agreed, when we get home, I'm gonna practice for Suxer tournament."
Just then, Buttercup walked under a ladder.
"Buttercup,"
Blossom called out.
"you just walked under a ladder. What's bad about that?"
Buttercup asked in an annoyed tone.
"If you break a mirror while under a ladder, this means you have 7 years of bad luck."
Blossom stated.
"Bad luck!"
Bubbles exclaimed in horror. Buttercup stared in confusion, but she later shrugged it off.
"I've done it. Bad luck wouldn't even terrorize me,"
Buttercup said, breaking the silence. The girls continued to walk home. As the girls got home, Buttercup went to find her soccer ball, but it was deflated. She then heard a faint evil chuckle through her wardrobe. As Buttercup looked in her wardrobe, there wasn't a single person in there.
What's going on?
I asked myself under my breath. She then went downstairs to make a meat sandwich, but when she looked in the fridge, there wasn't any ham left.
"What is going on?"
Buttercup asked in annoyance and confusion at the same time. Just then, that same, awful chuckle came back. This time, Buttercup started to get seriously scared. At dinner time, Buttercup asked for salt and the professor passed it to her. As she went to pour salt over her dinner, the salt cap fell off, tipping the entire salt on her food.
"Oh man!"
Buttercup angrily yelled. Blossom noticed this.
"Buttercup, I think you're starting to have bad luck."
What do you mean?
Buttercup angrily asked.
"If you have bad luck, strange things will happen to you. The only way to reverse it is by pulling a lucky rabbit's foot."
Really?
Buttercup said in surprise.
"Yeah, exactly,"
Replied Bubbles.
"but it's done right now, so we want to it straight away."
Buttercup groaned glumly.
At least tomorrow will be better.
She stated.
All close time for bed.
The professor said.
Professor.
All of the girls said. The girls got into their night dresses and got into bed. At 11 p.m., Buttercup heard paper flapping. She opened her eyes and saw paper flying through the window. Buttercup walked up to the sheet of paper, and it read, "Come inside the subway tunnel. It will explain your bad luck. Anonymous." Buttercup felt worried reading it. She then went up to Blossom and Bubbles to wake them up.
Bubbles, Blossom, wake up.
Buttercup pleaded. Bubbles woke up.
"What is it, Buttercup?"
We have to meet up at the subway. Let's go.
Bubbles complied and went to wake up Blossom.
"Blossom, wake up, Buttercup's taking us to the subway." "Why is she taking us to the subway?"
Blossom asked, waking up. The girls then flew out of their windows and landed near a west subway tunnel.
"So why did you take us here, Buttercup?"
Blossom asked.
I heard this.
Buttercup responded, holding up the piece of paper she found earlier.
It said it will explain my bad luck.
Just then, the piece of paper glowed in a dark red color and there was an additional piece of writing. Buttercup read the paper again and it said,
We have a cure for your bad luck.
What does it say?
Bubbles asked.
It says it is a cure for my bad luck. Let's get it.
Buttercup ordered. The girls then flew through the tunnel, and the tunnel looked very unnerving at nighttime.
Girls, I'm scared.
Bubbles whimpered. Blossom held her hand to try and reassure her. Buttercup growled quietly, wanting to fight already. Just then, a familiar silhouette appeared from the shadows. The girls then angrily glared at it and walked slowly towards it. The silhouette then finally got color and it was no other than Mojo Jojo.
Mojo? Mojo.
The girls said in unison.
Ghost!
Mojo teasingly said.
Of course it's me. It is like Mojo Jojo, the most common villain you fight with.
Blossom then said.
All right. Mojo, what did you do to Buttercup? Yeah! She has been stopped with bad luck last night. Did you do this to her?
Bubbles asked.
Here, bad luck.
Mojo obliviously mocked before chuckling stupidly.
Yes, it was me.
Mojo replied. Buttercup gasped in horror.
You did to this to me.
Buttercup suddenly shouted angrily.
Of course, little Miss Obvious.
Mojo replied.
I have always detested you. I built a simple ray gun with tentacle when the professor was away and built a material from scratches.
Buttercup got really pissed off. She flew onto Mojo and beat the living shit out of him.
Don't you mess with the Powerpuff Girls, you monkey-faced.
Buttercup punctuated, as she punched Mojo Jojo across the face side by side. Mojo then whacked Buttercup across the face and pointed another gun towards her.
With this gun, I will get rid of your occulted powers once and for all with my all-new invented antidote gun.
What?
Blossom and Bubbles yelled. Buttercup tried to fly away, but it was too late. Mojo then shot his gun at Buttercup and a dark purple race around her and Buttercup let out a realistic blood-curdling scream due to how strong the gun was. Blossom and Bubbles yelled. The scream was so realistic it sounded like her actor C.G. Daly was in agony or pain.
Buttercup! Buttercup!
Bubbles and Blossom cried out in horror. The ray disappeared and Buttercup fell to the ground. She then woke up and tried to attack Mojo again. She went to fly into him, but she only fell flat on the ground. Mojo snickered.
I demand my child!
What have you done to our sister?
Bubbles angrily yelled.
You have to say the gun with antidote. We can.
I am seriously going to kick your monkey ass this time. Mojo.
Blossom yelled. I was shocked at what Blossom said. What did Blossom just say? I said quietly. Blossom and Bubbles then flew towards Mojo, but he pointed the antidote X gun at them and shot them with it, too, to the ground, with many scars. Mojo quietly chuckled. He then held up a red hourglass-like machine.
It's time for the ultimate Hodern!
Mojo sinisterly said. Mojo pressed one of the buttons and a cyan race around him and the girls. Just then, he and the girls transported into his lair. Mojo then grinned evilly with his eyes glowing red. Buttercup was still awake, but Blossom and Bubbles were unconscious.
Girls, get up. Mojo has transported us to his lair.
Buttercup told her sisters. Bubbles and Blossom did so, and they realized they were in Mojo's lair.
Girls, did you have...
Mojo mocked, his voice now sounding distorted and demonic. Blossom growled.
We're going to finish you up, Mojo.
Mojo asked. He pressed another button on his red machine, and everything turned dark. Bubbles shrieked and held onto Blossom.
Oh, Bubbles, it's just the dirt.
Blossom reassured again. Buttercup looked around and heard faint women's screams.
What is happening?
Buttercup asked in concern. Just then, she heard men screaming. This freaked out the girls more.
Mojo, where are you going?
Buttercup angrily ordered. Just then, the lights came back on. Boy, it was so heartbreaking. Mojo turned the lights back on, and it showed most of the Powerpuff Girls' friends and family all deceased. The blood was faint, but was still noticeable. The bodies were those of the professor, Mrs. Keene, the mayor and Mrs. Bellum. Blossom was shocked.
No.
Blossom cried. Bubbles suddenly sobbed out loud. Her crying wasn't very cartoony, it sounded like her actress, Tara Strong, was very depressed. Buttercup was in disbelief she was close to crying.
The professor, our friends.
Buttercup moaned. Her sad face grew into an angry glare.
Let's get him, girls!
The girls ran, as they can't fly due to being affected with Antitotex. Mojo then pressed another button on his machine and a large trapdoor then opened on the girls and the girls fell, screaming for their lives.
See you next fall, Powerpuff Girls!
Mojo called out. Mojo then laughed evilly and walked away. The girls were still falling and they realized they were falling near an ocean full of poison. The girls then fell in the poison and coughed loudly. As they continued coughing, their faces started to fade to a mix of red and gray. Bubbles then retched on the poison, looking seriously sick. Her eyes were swollen and her cheeks were also swollen. Just then, the girls then dropped their entire bodies into the rest of the poison. Just then, the poison then drained into a sinkhole. It showed a shot of the 3 girls lying dead on the dry ground. There were brief scars, small drops of blood and rashes. Just then, Mojo's voice was heard.
For the very first time the day is conquered! And so Jojo!
Mojo proceeded to laugh maniacally, but was not seen. It then ended with a shot of the girls lying on the floor in a bird's eye view, as Mojo can be once again heard saying, "Happy Friday the 13th." I was appalled. The episode's title was a play on the day Friday the 13th. Instead of the pulsating heart background, it showed a pulsating skull background, which would be used for the Rowdy Rough Boys in the episode Custody Battle. The narrator was even heard sounding depressed.
Oh, how horrible! What did the girls have to know so? The days can't play them
Instead of the girls appearing, it showed Mojo Jojo, laughing crazily.
Here's your hat you pay!
The narrator said, before crying loudly. His sobs sounded real. Yes, it had the classic narrator's voice, but the way he was crying sounded real. Just then, the credits rolled. Instead of the ending theme by Bess, the guitar solo of Leonard Skinner's Freebird played, but in a demonic effect. That gave me chills down my spine. It didn't show the Cartoon Network logo, but instead, it had a disclaimer. This episode was made with help from Matthew Thompson. This episode has aired on September 13, 2002 for Friday the 13th. However, due to complaints from parents, this episode has been pulled and deleted due to the dark nature. Thank you for reading this. I was shocked. I opened up my portable DVD player and took the disc out. I had seen enough shit for today. I threw the DVD away a day later. That afternoon, I told my sister about the lost episode on DVD and I showed it to her. Fortunately, she believed me. That night, I didn't sleep for 13 days. Whatever are you going to bump into when you insert a newly discovered DVD?